The wild zone was a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Most species stayed away from it. The planets there were too dangerous. Some had deadly weather, some had strange beasts. Others had no laws, only war. It was a place for criminals, pirates, and things even worse. But now, the Varnock came. The Varnock were strong, proud, and feared. They were a reptilian warrior race who believed in power above all. They hunted other species for sport and took slaves from weak worlds. They saw themselves as the apex predators of the galaxy. So when their long-range sensors picked up strange activity on a wild zone planet called Terra 9, they were curious. They saw signs of buildings, vehicles, and energy use. A new species had arrived, and it wasn't listed in any galactic database. The Varnock thought it was just another primitive race. High Commander Varric grinned as he looked at the report. They call their planet Earth. They come from far outside the mapped galaxy. Probably soft and stupid, he said. Easy prey. He sent a small scout team of 10 elite Varnock warriors to investigate. Landing on Terra 9, the Varnock dropship sliced through the gray clouds of Terra 9 and landed in a rocky valley. Around them, strange plants twisted under heavy wind. The air was thick, cold, and full of ash. Volcanic mountains smoked in the distance. "This place stinks," hissed one of the soldiers. "Perfect for prey to hide," replied another. The Varnock team moved through the terrain. They scanned for life signs and found several heat signatures, small camps scattered across the mountains. One was close. They approached silently, their armor blending into the environment. When they reached the camp, they found a structure made of metal and rock. It looked like a bunker. A strange flag flew on a pole. It had a circle of stars and red and white stripes. Inside the bunker were weapons, primitive by Varnock standards. Bullets, explosives, survival tools, no people. "Strange," said the leader of the team. "Where are they?" Suddenly, the sound of a whistle rang out. Then, boom! The ground under them exploded. A hidden mine had been triggered. One Varnock was blown apart. The others screamed, taking cover. Then came the gunfire. From the cliffs above, human snipers opened fire with high-powered rifles. The bullets pierced armor at weak points. Another Varnock fell. "Ambush!" shouted the leader. "Fall back!" But it was too late. Shadows moved through the trees. Human soldiers dressed in camo and wearing face paint moved like ghosts. They struck fast, throwing grenades, slashing with knives, and using traps set into the landscape. The Varnock, trained for open battle, didn't expect this kind of war. One by one, they fell. Only 2 escaped. The survivors warning back on the Wii. Varnock ship orbiting Terra 9, alarms blared as the dropship returned. The doors opened. Only one Varnock came out. His armor was cracked. His breathing was heavy. One eye was gone. He dropped to his knees and screamed, "They hunt back!" Medical teams rushed to help him, but his words echoed in the command center. "Commander." Varric listened in silence. "What do you mean?" he asked. The soldier looked up, his face full of fear, something no Varnock ever showed before. "They knew we were coming," he whispered. "They laid traps. They moved through the land like predators. They were quiet, fast, and deadly." He paused. "I saw their eyes, cold, focused, like nothing else, not prey, not soldiers." He swallowed. "They're hunters. Human camp. Same. Time on Terra 9, inside a hidden base built into the mountain, a group of humans sat around a table. They wore rugged gear, their faces tired but alert. One of them, a woman named Captain Lena Torres, looked at the hologram map. Red dots showed enemy movements. "That was a scout team," she said. "They'll be back with more." A man leaned against the wall, cleaning his rifle. "Good. Let them come." Another chuckled. "You always this eager, Mason?" Mason grinned. We train for this. Earth made us hard. These lizards don't know what they're dealing with. Torres nodded. They think this is a game, a hunt. She looked up, but they forgot one thing. On Earth, we're the top of the food chain. The Varnock Council reacts. The Varnock High Council gathered around a circular table in the capital ship Razorfang. They watched the video feeds from Terra 9. Varnock bodies being dragged away, traps triggering, humans striking from nowhere. They're using primitive tech, said one counselor. But it works. It's not the tech, growled Varric. It's them. They think differently. A scientist showed data on the screen. We studied their planet. Earth is what they call it, filled with predators, lions, sharks, bears, snakes. Their entire history is survival through violence. He pointed at an image of a human soldier, and they evolved in it. Another counselor asked, "Are they a threat?" Varric slammed his fist down. "Yes." He looked at the council. "But we are Varnock. We don't run. We crush threats." Darkness in the mountains back on Terra 9. Night fell fast. The sky was black, lit only by fire and smoke. The humans moved silently through the dark. No lights, no talking. They used hand signs and instincts. They had grown up in cities, forests, deserts, and war zones. They knew how to fight, but more than that, they knew how to adapt. They watched the skies. Enemy ships would land soon. Captain Torres looked at the others. "We survived Earth. We survived the Wild Zone. Now we show them who we are." Mason smiled beside her. "Let's remind the galaxy what an apex predator looks like." The Varnock did not forgive failure. When news reached the high command that their elite scout team had been wiped out by humans, there was anger, but also disbelief. 10 trained warriors killed by a group of primitive animals? Growled High. Commander Varric. "I want proof." He ordered a full battle unit to Terra 9. Not a scout team this time, but a strike force. 3 dropships. 60 warriors. Armored, armed, ready to crush anything. Landing with fury. The new Varnock force arrived at sunrise. Their ships roared down from orbit and landed in a wide-open valley. Commander Skarn, a brutal Varnock leader with scarred scales and glowing red eyes, stepped out first. He looked around, sniffing the air. "No signs of resistance," he hissed. "Maybe they ran. Or maybe they're hiding again," said his second-in-command. Skarn smiled darkly. "Let them hide. We'll burn this planet one cave at a time." He didn't know the humans were already watching. From high on a rocky ridge, Mason lay flat on his stomach with a pair of binoculars. 60 of them, he whispered into his radio. "Looks like they're setting up a forward base." "Captain," Torres answered from another position. "They're cocky. Good." She looked at the others around her, silent, deadly soldiers in camo gear. "Let's show them why cocky doesn't survive on Terra 9. The trap begins. That night, the Varnock. Soldiers began building a camp. They placed turrets and force field barriers. Floodlights lit the area. Drones buzzed overhead. They were confident, too confident. At 0200 hours, it began. One of the drones suddenly crashed to the ground, then another and another. Before the Varnock could react, all their lights went out. "Power loss," shouted an engineer. "Check the systems," Skarn roared. Just then, a strange howling sound came from the cliffs, a long, deep human whistle, then silence. The Varnock tensed, weapons drawn, eyes scanning the dark. Then, boom, an explosion tore. Through the ammo depot, fire burst into the air, screams followed. "Under attack!" someone yelled, but no one could see the enemy. From the trees, humans fired sniper shots. Every shot was careful, aimed at weak spots. Helmets exploded, knees shattered, weapons dropped. From behind boulders, small drones, built by human engineers, slithered toward the camp. When they reached the Varnock vehicles, they exploded in fireballs. Chaos, panic, confusion. Skarn roared into his comms. "Regroup! Find the attackers!" But the humans were never in one place for long. They moved like shadows. 1 minute behind a rock, the next they were gone. This was not war. This was hunting. Skarn's rage. By morning, 12 Varnock soldiers were dead. 2 more were wounded. Skarn was furious. "Cowards," he shouted. "Come out and face us." But humans didn't play by Varnock rules. They had studied the enemy. They had learned their movements, their behavior, their weaknesses, and now they were using it all. Mason's voice came through a hacked Varnock frequency. "You brought 60. Now you have 48. Keep sending more. We're just getting warmed up." Skarn's eyes burned with rage. "I want that human's head!" Back at the human base. In a mountain cave filled with equipment, maps, and monitors, Captain Torres stood before a group of resistance fighters. "We've taken down part of their force," she said, "but we can't let them regroup. We break their will before they bring in more." One soldier raised a hand. "What if they drop a bomb from orbit?" "We've already hacked their ships," Torres said with a smirk. "Their bombs are offline. Their orbit comms are jammed." The soldiers smiled. "This is our planet now," Mason said. "Fear begins to grow. The Varnock soldiers were not used to losing. Not like this." At night, they heard strange sounds. Human laughter, animal growls, footsteps that disappeared. They slept in shifts, jumped at shadows, started arguing. One soldier even ran into the woods screaming and never came back. Skarn tried to keep order, but fear had entered their minds. One day, a soldier found a message burned into a tree with acid. "You are not the hunters." The surprise assault. 2 days later, as the Varnock tried to move their camp to higher ground, the humans attacked in full. It wasn't with tanks or ships. It was with strategy. They let the Varnock reach a narrow canyon. Then from above, humans pushed boulders down. The rocks smashed equipment, blocked exits, and crushed a few unlucky Varnock. Smoke grenades filled the canyon. Then came the humans. Fast, silent, deadly. Torres led the assault with a shotgun. Mason followed with a flamethrower. Others came from every side. The Varnock were trapped. For 5 minutes, the canyon echoed with gunfire, screams, and explosions. When the smoke cleared, 20 Varnock were dead. The rest had dropped weapons and fled. The message one Varnock was left alive on purpose. Torres stood over him, blood on her armor, shotgun still smoking. "Go back to your leaders," she said. "Tell them what you saw. Tell them what we are." The Varnock stared at her, shaking. She leaned closer. "We didn't come to be ruled. We didn't come to be hunted." She smiled coldly. "We came to survive. And now you'll learn what happens when apex predators get pushed too far." Aboard the Varnock, Mothership High Commander Varric watched the battlefield report in silence. Only a handful of his 60 warriors had returned, and they were broken. Some refused to speak, others cried in their sleep. One tried to claw his own, face off. They weren't warriors anymore. They were prey. The report ended with a short video clip, recorded by a drone just before it was destroyed. It showed humans moving through the smoke. Calm, precise, fearless. One of them looked right at the camera before shooting it. His face was painted like a skull. His eyes were cold. Varric turned to his generals. "Begin preparing full war protocols," he said. "Not to conquer, to survive." One general asked, "Sir, are we at war?" Varric nodded slowly. "No," he said. "We're being hunted." The galaxy was watching. News of the human attacks on Terra 9 spread like wildfire through the black markets, pirate channels, and secret networks. Alien spies shared video clips of Varnock soldiers running in fear, shaking in med bays, or begging not to be sent back. No one believed it at first. Humans? A new species from a distant system? Outsiders with simple weapons and old tech, it didn't make sense. But the proof was everywhere. And soon, fear began to grow across the stars. The Galactic. Council gathers on the golden world of Halrex. A massive council hall floated above the clouds. Inside, alien leaders from powerful empires gathered to discuss one thing: humans. A tall insectoid named Zith blinked rapidly as he stood. "We must understand this species," he said. "They are not acting like prey. They are something different." A furry, four-eyed general from the planet Yor growled. "The Varnock sent their best warriors and were defeated. What if the humans come for the rest of us next?" A screen lit up with the words, "Apex Protocol, Classified Human Military Doctrine." The room went quiet. An old AI historian, built from ancient metal and glowing lines, spoke in a calm voice. "The Apex Protocol is a survival plan used by humans when facing larger enemies. It activates only when total destruction is near." "What does it do?" someone asked. The AI answered simply, "It turns humans into pure predators." Earth's bloody history. The Council watched old videos from Earth. Jungle warriors hunting tigers with spears. World wars with tanks, bombs, and trenches. Soldiers in ice, sand, and deep forests, never giving up. Bare-knuckle fighters in rings. Scientists building weapons to end worlds and then creating vaccines to save them. "Violent, but smart," Zith whispered. The AI nodded. "They fight with emotion, but plan with reason. That's what makes them deadly." The Council shivered. 1. Alien Admiral leaned forward and asked, "Have they done this before?" The AI responded, "Yes," to themselves. Back on Terra 9, the human resistance grew stronger. Every time the Varnock tried to land more troops, they were attacked before they touched the ground. Their supply ships vanished. Even their satellite eyes were hacked and blinded. Captain Lena Torres stood before a large hollow table inside the mountain base. Around her stood engineers, soldiers, and alien allies from other enslaved worlds who had joined the humans. "Operation Silent Tooth is complete," she said. "Their orbital comms are gone. Their transport routes are ours. Now, we take the war to space." Mason, always calm but intense, nodded. "Time to show them our fangs." The first space strike humans didn't have many ships, but the ones they had were fast, ugly, and dangerous. Built from scrap, powered by fusion, and covered in stealth plates, these ghost ships moved like shadows in the void. Their mission: sneak into Varnock orbit and destroy a battleship from the inside. 3 ships left Terra 9. One was piloted by Mason. He sat in the dark cockpit, staring at the glowing Varnock cruiser ahead. "Look at that beast," his co-pilot whispered. Mason smiled. "Let's cut it open." They dodged enemy sensors, slipped through a blind spot in the shields, and landed inside the hangar. Then they spread out. Human tactics in space. Inside the Varnock battleship, alarms began to ring. Too late. Humans had already planted charges in key systems, engines, weapon controls, shield cores. They moved quickly, wearing heat-canceling suits and using silent weapons. The Varnock never saw them coming. By the time the humans escaped back to their ships, the massive battleship exploded. In orbit, a burning ball of twisted metal floated where a fortress once stood. The galaxy took notice. Who were these creatures? How could a young species strike so hard, so fast? The interrogation back at the Varnock capital, a captured human was brought in chains before a warlord. The room was filled with guards, scientists, and commanders. Everyone wanted answers. The human, a bearded soldier named Raiden, smiled calmly. The warlord growled, "How are you doing this? You have no empire, no fleets, no high-tech weapons." Raiden answered simply, "Because we don't need them." He leaned forward. "You fight with strength. We fight with everything: dirt, wind, fear, fire, time. He chuckled. And the one thing you'll never have? Desperation. The warlord snarled. You're cornered animals. Raiden's eyes glinted. Exactly. Allies begin to join. Across the stars, whispers spread. Other species, once slaves or enemies of the Varnock, began to rebel. They sent secret messages to the humans on Terra 9. Teach us. Help us fight like you. We want to be predators. Too, Captain Torres welcomed them. She sent small human teams to other planets, veterans, survivors, hunters, not to conquer, but to train. Soon, across dozens of worlds, human tactics spread like wildfire. The Varnock weren't fighting one enemy now. They were fighting hundreds, all trained by humans. The Varnock's desperate plan commander, Varric, stared at a burning star map. Half their outer worlds were lost. Their fleets were shrinking. He slammed a fist into the table. This is not a war. This is extermination. An advisor stepped forward. We must strike Earth, burn their homeworld, end them at the source. Another general shook his head. We don't even know where Earth is. A young scientist said quietly, we traced one human transmission. It mentioned coordinates and a warning. He showed it on the screen. It was simple. Come find us. We'll be waiting. A new name across the galaxy, the term Apex Protocol, began to change meaning. It no longer meant a human defense plan. Now it meant a threat. Parents told their children, behave or the Apex will come. Pirates avoided Terra 9 like a cursed system. Slavers refused to take humans, even if offered money. The word human now stood for something primal, powerful, and terrifying. A space pirate summed it up best when he said, you can beat a Varnock in battle, but a human? You don't fight them. You just hope they don't notice you. The message to the galaxy one day. A message was sent across all known space. It came from Terra 9. Every station, ship, and planet received it at the same time. The screen showed Captain Torres standing with Mason and other fighters behind her. She spoke slowly, clearly. You came to our home. You tried to chain us, to hunt us. You thought we were weak, that we would break. You forgot one thing. Predators adapt, but apex predators evolve. We are humanity. We are Earth, and we are done hiding. The screen went black. Then one final line flashed in red. The galaxy had changed. Once, the Varnock ruled with fear. They conquered planets, enslaved species, and crushed rebellions without effort. But now, everything was different. Now, every Varnock ship looked over its shoulder. Every captain double-checked. Scanners. Every soldier feared the forests, the dark, and the silence. Because now, they weren't fighting prey. They were being hunted by humans. Old enemies, new teachers. On the jungle planet of Veltrax, strange creatures called the Galactic once served the Varnock as miners. Their claws were strong, but their minds were simple. They lived underground, digging for rare metals. Now they stood in a wide-open field, holding strange weapons made by humans. A human soldier named Diaz stood in front of them, grinning. "All right, big guys," he said. "Time to teach you how to hit back." He held up a hologram showing a Varnock patrol. You don't fight like them. You don't march in lines. You don't roar. You strike from below, from the dark, just like you always have. Only now, you're smarter. The Galactic hissed in agreement. Humans weren't just fighting. They were spreading their way of war to others. The Varnock Empire. Weakens planet by planet, the Varnock grip weakened. On the snowy moon of Darnus, a small band of human-trained rebels blew up an enemy supply ship using ice tunnels and fake signals. On the desert world of Kor, human engineers helped local fighters build EMP traps using scrap metal and solar coils. The Varnock tried to send reinforcements, but their ships were intercepted. Their codes were stolen. Their plans were leaked. How do they always know what we're doing? Shouted a frustrated general. The answer was simple. Humans learned, faster than anyone else. Back on Terra 9 inside the mountain base, Captain Torres studied the latest reports. Dots on the map were changing. Red for enemy, blue for allies. The red was shrinking. 17 more worlds pushing back, said a young comms officer. Mason leaned against a wall, sharpening a knife. Looks like they're bleeding. Torres didn't smile. They'll get desperate. That's when they'll be most dangerous. She turned to the room. It's time for the next step. We've defended enough. Now we take the fight to their heart. Gasps filled the room. You want to hit the Varnock homeworld? Someone asked. Torres nodded. Not to destroy it, just to remind them we can. The plan. Operation Apex Shadow. The mission was called Operation Apex Shadow. 3 human. Stealth ships. 30 soldiers. One goal, break into the Varnock capital system and leave a message the galaxy would never forget. Torres chose the best, Mason. Diaz. A silent scout named Ray, who once lived alone in Earth's Arctic for 6 years, and others who had survived dozens of battles. Before launch, they gathered in the hangar. This isn't just war, Torres said. This is psychological hunting. We don't want to kill millions. We want them to fear every shadow, every whisper, every step. She looked each soldier in the eye. Make them feel what we felt. Show them how it ends when you push humans too far. Infiltrating the beast, the Varnock homeworld, Karjul, was surrounded by giant defense stations, fleets, and scanner nets. But human stealth ships moved like ghosts. Ray led the way. She floated in the darkness of space, using a small suit with a cloaking field. She hacked one of the orbital satellites, creating a blind spot. Then the ships slipped through. They landed in the jungle just outside the Varnock capital city. Huge towers rose into the sky. Gunships flew above. Patrols marched below. Mason looked up. Looks like a fortress, Torres answered. Let's make it feel like a tomb. Strike from the shadows. The humans split into 3 teams. Team 1 hacked into the main broadcast tower. In under 10 minutes, they replaced all Varnock media with human war footage, ambushes, ship explosions, Varnock soldiers running. Team 2 moved through the underground tunnels and planted charges under the main army base. They set them to blow only the walls, not the people. This was not a massacre. It was a message. Team 3, led by Torres, snuck into the Varnock Hall of Leaders. A giant stone statue of the Varnock founder stood in the middle. They painted 5 words in red across its chest. You are not alone. The shockwave at sunrise, everything happened at once. The Varnock news channels flickered. Suddenly, every citizen saw humans fighting like demons across dozens of planets. Then, boom, explosions rocked the army base. No one died, but walls fell. Tanks flipped and alarms screamed. The statue in the Capitol Square defaced. Security footage showed humans walking away calmly, untouched. Varnock leaders panicked. How did they get here? Why didn't we see them? What do they want? They didn't understand yet. It wasn't about winning battles. It was about owning fear. Back to the shadows before the Varnock could react, the human teams were gone. Ships cloaked, trajectories scrambled. No trail. Back on Terra 9, the soldiers landed to cheers and celebration. But Torres didn't cheer. She stood on the edge of the landing pad, watching the stars. Mason walked up beside her. Think they got the message? She nodded. They know now. No place is safe. He smiled. Good. Let them feel it for once. A Varnock child. Cries on Karjul, a small Varnock child woke from a nightmare. He cried and called for his mother. Mom, I saw them. In the dream. The humans! She held him close. It's okay, child, they're far away. The boy shook his head. No, they were here. I saw them. With red eyes, smiling, waiting in the dark. The mother's scales turned pale, because she had seen the same nightmare too. The final words of a general at a secret Varnock meeting. Old generals and new warlords argued over what to do next. One of them stood up. His face was scarred. His voice shook. We thought strength was everything, that fear made others kneel, but we were wrong. He looked around the room. We created monsters. By trying to break them, we sharpened them. He pointed at the stars. Now they teach others. They turn prey into hunters, and they don't need fleets or empires. He paused. They only need reason, and we gave them one. The galaxy had changed forever. Once, the Varnock Empire ruled with strength and fear. Their armies marched across the stars. They crushed weak planets. No one dared fight them. But that was the old galaxy. Now the Varnock were quiet, careful, watching. The shadows. Because in those shadows, the humans were waiting, and fear had a new face. Across the stars on a world called Yellen Prime, once a Varnock-controlled prison planet, the people stood in the streets cheering. The last Varnock garrison had surrendered, but there were no human warships in the sky. Only a single human dropship had arrived. Out of it stepped Diaz, carrying no weapon, only a datapad. He handed it to the local rebel leader. Here's everything, Diaz said. Tactics, tools, training. The rebel's eyes widened. You're giving it to us? Diaz smiled. It's yours now. Just don't become like them. He turned back to his ship. We're not here to rule. We're here to teach. And just like that, he left. That was the new human way. They didn't want thrones. They wanted peace. But they would never kneel again. The fall of the Varnock on, the Varnock homeworld of Karjul, fear hung in the air. The once mighty empire was falling apart. Planets declared independence. Soldiers refused to fight. Some even threw down their weapons and joined human-led resistance cells. In the great stone halls of Varnock leadership, the High Commander Varrock stood before his council, silent. He looked older now, tired, defeated. We cannot win this war, he said softly. Angry voices rose. Then we fight to the last warrior. Better death than surrender. They are just humans. Varrock slammed his fist on the table. No, he growled. They are not just humans. He looked around at the others. We called ourselves apex predators. But they never claimed that title. They earned it. With blood, with pain, with strategy, with fire. He took a deep breath. We started this war. Now we must end it. A signal to Terra 9 on. Terra 9. Inside the mountain base, Captain Lena Torres stood before a large screen. The image of Varnock High Commander Varrock appeared, his face hard but not proud. I come not with threats, he said, but with a request, a meeting, face to face. Torres narrowed her eyes. Why? Varrock looked down. Because I have seen what we created, and I wish to stop it before more galaxies burn. She said nothing for a long moment. Then she nodded. Send the coordinates. The meeting. The meeting was held on a neutral station orbiting a dead star. No armies, no weapons, just 2 ships, 1 human, 1 Varnock. Captain Torres stepped out first, wearing her worn combat armor, the same she wore during the first battle, on Terra 9. From the other ship, Varrock stepped out slowly, his tail dragging slightly. No guards, no armor. They met in the center of the station's hall. You came alone, Torres said. As did you, Varrock replied. There was silence for a moment. Why? She finally asked. Varrock sighed. Because I once thought fear was enough, but fear creates hunters. And we gave you reason to become the most dangerous hunters in the stars. He looked her in the eyes. I was wrong. Torres nodded slowly. We didn't ask for this war, but we ended it. Varrock bowed his head. Yes, you did. A new path soon after, a message went out to all known systems. The war was over. The Varnock surrendered. Not to human power, but to human truth. The message was delivered in all languages. It didn't promise peace. It didn't ask for forgiveness. It simply said, "We learned. We changed. Now we follow the ones who taught us how to fight and when to stop." The Apex Alliance, from the ashes of war, something new rose, a galactic council formed, not ruled by humans, but guided by them. It was called the Apex Alliance. Any species could join. No one could conquer. All members protected one another. Humans served as advisors, mentors, and defenders. They led special teams to stop slavers, pirates, and warmongers. They trained soldiers, helped rebuild worlds, offered knowledge freely. They asked for nothing in return. But if anyone broke the peace, the Apex Protocol would return. Earth revealed. For years, the location of Earth had been a secret. But now, the humans finally shared it. The first alien visitors to Earth were stunned. They saw a wild blue planet filled with forests, oceans, mountains, and dangerous animals. Lions, tigers, crocodiles, wolves, sharks. But nothing was more dangerous than the humans themselves. They played, laughed, built cities, wrote music, but their eyes held something ancient. Survival. Fire. The will to fight. An alien child once asked a human teacher, "Why are humans so scary?" The teacher smiled and answered, "Because we learn to smile." While running toward danger, legends begin across the galaxy. Stories spread like wildfire. Of humans walking into storms with calm hearts. Of a lone human sniper who protected a village for 40 days without sleep. Of a human medic who carried 5 alien children through a battlefield, bleeding the whole time. Of a human pilot who crashed his ship into a warlord's fortress just to save one friend. These were not myths. These were facts, but they became legends because the galaxy had never seen anything like them before. A final warning one day. A small pirate fleet attacked a peaceful planet, hoping the humans weren't watching. They were wrong. Within hours, a single human ship arrived. Not a battleship, just a sleek black cruiser with no name. A voice echoed across every channel. "You have hurt the weak. You have hunted the helpless. You forgot who watches the dark now. We are humanity, the apex, the shield, the fire. This is your first and only warning." The pirates vanished within minutes. No one ever found the wreckage. Peace. Under shadow years passed. The galaxy healed. Trade grew. Cultures mixed. Young aliens learned human history, not out of fear, but respect. And still, the humans watched, not from thrones, but from edges, from dark corners, from outposts hidden on moons and stations in the deep black. They smiled, they lived, but they never forgot, because the wild never leaves the apex predator. A lesson for the future. In a school on a peaceful planet, a young alien asked a question during history class. Why didn't the humans take over the galaxy when they won the war? The old alien teacher, once a Varnock soldier, smiled softly. Because real predators don't need to roar. They don't need to sit on thrones. They just walk silently. And everything dangerous stays away. The student nodded slowly. And what if someone forgets that lesson? The teacher's eyes narrowed. They won't forget twice. Final scene. The watching eyes, in the farthest part of the galaxy, beyond the last mapped star, something moved. A new threat. A massive fleet unknown to any race, heading toward the edge of the Apex Alliance. But before it could enter, it stopped. Why? Because floating before them was a single human ship. Small. Quiet. A message was sent. One line only. Turn around. We're already watching. The unknown fleet turned back, and the galaxy slept safely once again.